Oh Lord, give me strength. You have hurt so many people, Tiffanie.
I will never forgive you.
Emotions ran high in a Kentucky courtroom this week as a judge handed down a life sentence to 33-year-old Tiffanie Lucas, the mom who stood over her two young sons and shot them both in the head. Her defense team said she was in the middle of a psychotic break. Heartbroken family members spoke during that hearing, saying that Lucas had so many other options besides murder. We're going to hear from them right now. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. 6-year-old Maurice Baker Jr. and 9-year-old Jayden Howard lost their lives last November. And it wasn't due to an accident or sickness, no. It was due to murder. And it was a murder committed by, of all people, their own mother, Tiffanie Lucas. Neighbors of the 33-year-old in Bullitt County, Kentucky say she came running out of her home, crying for help, was laying down in the driveway. A neighbor found these two boys with gunshot wounds to the head inside of Lucas's home. They were rushed to a hospital, but they both died. Lucas was arrested and she was charged with murder. And the natural question, of course, is why? Why would she do this? Well, during an interrogation, she told detectives that she may have been manipulated into murdering her children, possibly by the internet or Facebook. It's bizarre, I know. Then she seemingly tried to say the shooting had been accidental. Lucas entered a not guilty plea. And by the way, at one point there were talks about a possible insanity defense. But later on, she had a change of heart. She chose to change her plea to guilty, meaning there would be no trial here. We would all be spared from having to see photos of these children. A jury was spared of having to see these children. We'd all be spared hearing about what happened that day. But because she pled guilty, and this was an open plea, there was no plea deal here, this left her fate, her sentence, in the hands of the judge. So what happens? This week, Maurice and Jayden's family members crowded into a courtroom for Lucas's sentencing. And there is something to note here. While Lucas was the mother of both of these boys, they had different families, hence the different last names. So you're seeing a lot of different family members here. And I should also tell you, apparently under Kentucky Commonwealth law, the judge could have either decided 70 years in prison or life in prison without parole for 20 years. So with that in mind, now let's get into the hearing. One of the responding officers from this grisly crime scene that day told the court that the defendant was most certainly the killer.
Detective, is there any doubt in your mind that Tiffanie Lucas was the person who shot Jayden Howard and Maurice Baker?
There's no doubt at all.
Now, in terms of Lucas's defense team, they contended that she was suffering from a psychotic break from reality, that she really didn't know what she was doing when she shot her sons. But the victim's family members say if she was having a mental episode, it was likely connected back to her apparent drug use. I know, this is a very tough case. But look, you can't ignore it. It's important to understand what happened, to see how the justice system works here, to hold Lucas accountable. And we have been trying to cover this story from the very beginning. And look, the truth is, we're really able to do that, not only because of the amazing support that we get from you all, but also from our sponsors. And I have to call out our incredible partner, Morgan & Morgan, for this. Because here's the thing, if you should get injured, America's largest injury law firm may be who you want in your corner. And I'm talking not only over 1,000 attorneys and additional support staff, not only is the process super simple because it can all be done from your smartphone, not only is there no upfront fee, but Morgan & Morgan's track record is so impressive, like recent verdicts, $12 million in Florida, $26 million in Philadelphia, $6.8 million in New York, and all of these, mind you, considerably higher than the highest insurance offers in these cases. So if you're injured, you can easily start a claim at forthepeople.com/LC Sidebar. Now, before the judge handed down his sentence, victim impact statements were provided. And one by one, the little boy's family members made their way to the witness stand to talk about how Lucas's callous decision changed their lives forever. And first we heard from Jayden's grandmother. And I should tell you that Jayden's father had passed away previously, so when you think about this, when you think about Regina Rowan, she is now left without both her son and her grandson.
You know we love Jayden and Maurice. You know Jayden was the only thing we had left. And you took him from us. You know I had already lost his dad. And then my other son. And then you took Jayden. You have ripped our lives apart. And you know that you could have gave them kids to us and we would have took care of them. But you have been selfish. My heart is in pieces. And you know that you have always had a place to drop them off. You took him from me, and I hurt every day. Every second of the day, I hurt. And I hope they give you 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole. I want you to suffer just like I'm suffering right now. They did not deserve that. You took my little man from me. And we all love him so much, Jayden and Maurice. I don't have nothing else to say. She just knows, she knows she done ripped us apart.
Mr. Taylor, any additional questions?
No other questions.
Any questions from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Is this witness free to be excused?
Yes,
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. You're welcome to have a seat back in the courtroom or leave the courthouse.
Bobby Baker, an aunt, had some very strong words for Tiffanie Lucas.
What is your relationship to the victims in this case, the 2 little boys?
I'm aunt
Okay,
Maurice, but I consider myself Jayden's aunt as well.
I understand. Would you please read your impact statement for the court?
Tiffanie, on November 8, 2023, you changed the lives of 2 beautiful boys. You broke my brother's heart, my heart, and the heart of anyone who had encountered them. Jayden and Maurice didn't see you for who you really are. They loved you so much, but at the end of the day, you became what children their age fear the most, a monster. Not for 1 minute do I believe, like you said, you were in a hard spot. You had support in so many ways that you could have used. Like I often told you when we spoke, being a good mom is also making a decision that you can't give the boys the best life and allowing another parent to step in. But you refused to do so selfishly because it wouldn't align with what social media saw. Instead, you decided to play God and decide the boy's faith. I often see these court shows where the defendants are forgiven by the victim's family, but not today, not by me. I will never forgive you. I struggle and often wonder what else kind of pain did they endure at the hands of you before you ultimately took their life. Part of this statement I was gonna write, I hope every day you close your eyes that they haunt you. But I don't. You don't deserve to see them, and they shouldn't see you. If he decides to give you any kind of leniency today and grant you parole at some point, I'll be there at every parole hearing. Do you hear me? I'll be there at every parole hearing.
Hold on, ma'am.
Ms. Baker, just a moment.
Hold on. We may have more questions.
I have no further questions.
Any questions from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Then you can go ahead and leave now. Thank you.
By the way, after she left the witness stand, Baker couldn't even make it to the courtroom door before she burst into tears. She sobbed as she walked out of the courtroom and into that hall. Naomi Crawford, Michelle Reddy, also aunts of the victims, they were next to give statements.
I just want to tell the court and Major Tiffany that you took away our chance to have a relationship with my nephew. When my brother calls me, I wonder how he's doing. And I answered the phone so quick because I hope he's okay. Because I remember how you broke him. So at 12:30 at night when he calls me, if I don't answer that phone, if I don't see that phone call, I'm in such agony because I wonder, is he okay? Do you need me? That's my answer to him. His son is gone. You can never bring him back. And there is nothing and no amount of time that this court could give you that is fair. Life expectancy is about 70 years. You took 60 from them. Anything less than 60 for both of them or each of them is not even enough.
It's difficult to even mouth the words that my nephew was killed, that he was murdered. He was murdered by someone that was supposed to be a protector, to love him unconditionally. You had options. You had options you chose not to take. There were resources. There were resources you chose not to take. Regardless if it was drugs, regardless if you were dealing with depression, people deal with that every day. It was a choice you made not to get help.
Samaya Jones, the victim's cousin. She had trouble even talking about it when it was her turn.
I can't really speak right now because it's so hard to process everything that's been going on.
Take your time.
Especially with me dealing with other problems and then this, it's just everything is so hard to process right now. I'm shaking trying to talk, especially just seeing her in front of her, seeing her, it's hard. And waking up every morning and realizing what's really happened, that it's true, and that it's no bringing them back is really hard to deal with.
Is there anything else you'd like to say to the court?
I just wanted to ask Tiffanie, did you ever love your voice? Did you ever, how long have you been playing this? Because I don't really think that you'll be able to do this to somebody that you love. Especially with you being their mama. You're not supposed to do this to your own kids. I don't have kids myself, but I know this. You're supposed to protect them and protect them. But instead you hurt them.
The next witness, Nikki Gregory, was Jayden's stepmother, and she also blasted Tiffanie Lucas for refusing to allow anyone else to step in and help her care for the 6 and 9-year-olds, because if that was the case, maybe they would still be alive.
I have been in Jayden's life since he was 6 months old. While I'm thankful for the time I had with him, it was too short. My daughter, Charlie Howard, is 4 years old, and she has already lost her father, and he took her only brother. Both very tragic. Now I have to explain what happened to him by the hands of his own mother. I enjoy dropping him off and picking him up from school. I enjoy playing his favorite songs on the way home. I would cherish our family vacations at the beach. He was so scared of the ocean waves that all he wanted to do was go to the pool. And he swam so much that he would be asleep before the sun went down. I will miss his smile and his laugh. While I was pregnant, Jayden was very protective and loving of my stomach. He would rub and kiss it. He enjoyed being a big brother to little Reese, but now he was going to be a big brother to a little girl. My daughter will not be able to share any family vacation experiences. She will never be able to call him to tell him to come over and play with her. Now all she has are pictures and a dinosaur stuffed animal he used to sleep with. And now the pictures are going further and further back on my phone. Throughout the years, both sides of the family tried to help you with your drug addiction and your poor choices. Countless times. You have been neglecting them, and both sides tried to put those kids in a better place. You want to play the crazy card, you want to act like you couldn't handle life. Them boys had the support and love they needed. They didn't need you. What you did was evil, selfish, and hateful. There isn't anything the judge can sentence you to make this easier. Them boys were innocent, and I wish you were facing the death penalty. You don't deserve to breathe the same air as us. I wish they would bury you under the jail cell. You don't deserve a tombstone. You don't deserve to be remembered. But since that isn't an option, I hope the judge takes your freedom and never, ever gives it back.
Now, the final witness was Maurice Baker Sr., so this is the father to the little boy often called Reese. And he told the judge that he begged Tiffanie Lucas to let him spend more time with his son, but she refused.
Ever since my son was born, I begged Tiffanie for my son on so many different occasions because of drug use, the prostitution that she did, and the other way she had him in a harmful situation. I didn't just lose Maurice November the 8th. I lost my son really the day he was born, because ever since he was born, she held my son over my head. I begged her so many times to keep him out of harmful situations. Yeah, I cursed her. I threatened her. I did a lot. But only on behalf of my son. I begged her. She knew it. It's simple drug abuse. It's manipulation. I called around. There's not nobody in this courtroom I haven't called and talked from my family to her family that haven't heard about me asking for my son and wondering what was going on with him. She kept him from me for a year straight. So many birthdays he missed. I have a party planned. She never let him come. I begged her. The last message, the last time I texted her, I asked her, please, can I just talk to my son? She ignored me. I'm asking that the court give her the maximum punishment. I'll never see my son again. Jayden's family will never see them again. Anything less than the maximum punishment for her doing this to them will be unjust. They don't have a second chance. She chose to take drugs, put them in that situation. It was people begging for those kids, not just me as a father. It's aunties, cousins, her family members. Of course she had a breakdown. Methamphetamine does that. Opiates does that. You took the choice to do those drugs. I've been in prison before. I took for the consequence. Choices I've made, I suffer consequences. She needed consequence. She's always been able to manipulate.
Now, maybe not surprisingly, no one spoke on behalf of Tiffanie Lucas. And I will tell you, during closing arguments, the defense team seemed to argue that despite her mental health struggles, Tiffanie Lucas was a good mom. As you can imagine, that got snickers from the gallery, and also there was an admonishment from the judge.
Tiffanie Lucas was a devoted mother who showed her love for her children.
Folks, this is a court of law. Outbursts will not be tolerated. Now, if you cannot maintain your composure while the other side presents their argument, I'm going to ask you to leave now. I don't want to hold anybody in contempt. That's not what needs to happen at this point.
And after some reflection, Judge Rodney Burris had his decision.
A mother is more than the giving of life. It is providing food, clothing, shelter, but more importantly, love and security. I cannot imagine the sheer horror these children must have experienced seeing their mother with a gun. The sheer horror that second child had as he heard the discharge of that weapon for the first child. And maybe even both of them seeing their mother pull the trigger, taking their life. Count one. The court will adjudge the defendant guilty of the offense of murder and fix her sentence at life in prison. On count 2, the court will adjudge the defendant guilty of the offense of murder and fix her sentence at life in prison.
In the end, Lucas will become eligible for parole after serving the first 20 years of her sentence, and this is a part of Kentucky Commonwealth law that has surprised a lot of people.
Kentucky's method of incarceration for felony offenses is what's referred to as indeterminate sentencing. It can be somewhat difficult to follow if you don't deal with it every day. But ultimately, the court has to assume that the components of the judicial system, which includes the executive branch's parole board, will be followed to the laws.
After court adjourned, Bobby Baker spoke with our photographer, reiterating her promise to be at any and all parole hearings that Lucas might have in the future.
She should have gotten more. Life is 20 years. So in 20 years, she'll go up for parole. And I'll be there. She had support from every one of us, including my brother's girlfriend. Like, she had support. You had a psychotic break because you did meth. Let's tell it what it is. You all can paint this. I had a horrible childhood. We can paint this picture all we want to. Yes, things happen in childhood, but you made the decision to take their life. You did that. And the only reason I feel like she decided on the move they made today and allowing the judge to sentence her versus a jury is because she could have ended up with more time. I know what it is with her. That's why I spoke directly to her, and she knows I'm not playing. She didn't deserve them, and like I told the judge before, when they took custody, you will ruin them, and that's what happened. The only peace I have in this is knowing that you can't hurt them anymore. And I'm pissed. Nobody's gonna ever be able to fix my brother's heart. Nobody can fix that.
So clearly, just a tragic, senseless loss of life that had ripple effects through multiple families and the community. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.